Streaming. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Science. Hope you've had a great weekend. I haven't seen you since last week. What we're going to talk about today is the last subsection on energy and looking at the costs and benefits of this type of energy that we use, and it is nuclear energy. So let's get started. What we're going to do is to look for these following questions. We're going to answer these following questions here. How is nuclear energy generated? Why is the waste from nuclear power plants dangerous for so long? Why should nuclear power be developed? And why should it not be developed? Okay, so we're going to be looking for those following answers. So today we're going to CK12, which is a really, really great resource for our science questions. And as soon as it pulls up, there we go. I'm going to share my screen with you and we're going to get started here. Okay, so there we go. Let's take a look. So what you have here is a picture of where they are extracting, where they were storing nuclear waste. This was a waste development facility in Nevada. And it was a mountain. And so the people said, you're putting radioactive waste on our beautiful mountains. Who knows what you're doing to the environment? Those are the questions that we're asking, right? Either it's who knows what you're doing, or we know what you're doing to the environment and we don't like it. So they got rid of that source, and now there isn't one for storing long-term nuclear waste from most sources, and there aren't any being developed. This is, I don't know. You decide. So let's take a look at nuclear energy. What is nuclear energy? It is produced by splitting the nucleus of an atom. Those are the tiniest, tiniest molecules when you're talking about an atom, right? And doing that produces a huge amount of energy. So, what atom are we using? What element are we talking about? How nuclear power plants work. Nuclear power plants use the element uranium that has been concentrated into fuel rods. Let's see if we can show you what those rods look like. It says see below. Here, these are the rods. This is where they store it. And then the uranium atoms are split apart when they're hit by other extremely tiny particles. And those particles have to be controlled or it will cause a dangerous explosion. If you've ever had a chance to see an atom bomb, take a look at that. So these are nuclear power plants in France here. Almost 80% of France gets their electricity from nuclear power. And so they use the energy they produce to heat water. The water turns into steam, which causes a turbine engine to spin, and that in turn produces electricity. Now, heated water spinning a turbine engine was also the way that windmills produce electricity, if you remember that from our last lesson. Nuclear power is a resource. Many countries around the world use nuclear energy as a source of electricity. For example, France gets about 80% of its electricity from nuclear energy. In the United States, however, a little less than 20% of electricity comes from nuclear energy. Nuclear energy does not pollute. If there are no accidents, a nuclear power plant releases nothing but steam into the air, as you can see in our picture here. It's giving off steam. But nuclear energy does create other environmental problems. Splitting atoms creates dangerous radioactive waste, and these wastes can remain dangerous for hundreds of thousands of years. Scientists and engineers are still looking for ways to keep this waste away from people. Consequences of nuclear power. Nuclear power is clean, it doesn't pollute the air. However, the use of nuclear energy does create other environmental problems. The uranium must be mined, as you see down in this mine below ground. The process of splitting atoms creates radioactive waste, and this waste may be dangerous for thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. And as yet, there is no long-term solution for storing the radioactive waste. A little scary, y'all. For 3 decades, new nuclear power plants were not built in the United States. Why? Because accidents at 3 Mile Island, which is not far from us, and Chernobyl, Ukraine, made people nervous about harnessing nuclear power. At one point, it was thought to be the solution to all of our problems because it was clean. Because nuclear energy is clean, nuclear power was making a comeback. But the 2011 disaster at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan changed attitudes back. And that accident seems to have resulted in a new fear of nuclear power. So what happened is there was a 9-point earthquake and a resulting tsunami, and that water and the earthquake damaged the plant, which released all of this nuclear waste into the ocean, which has come as far as our west coast, our western coast shores, and in that area of the Pacific Ocean. Nuclear power is a controversial subject. Nuclear power has no pollutants. Nuclear power does not produce greenhouse gases like fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, oil. However, accidents do happen and they can be devastating. The long-term disposal of waste is a problem that has not been solved. So the future of nuclear power is murky. So in summary, nuclear power is released when the nucleus of an atom is split. Nuclear power plants use uranium and fuel rods. The fuel rods become nuclear waste, and nuclear waste can be dangerous for hundreds of thousands of years. Think of what can be affected. And periodic accidents involving nuclear power plants, they scare people. And that has slowed down the development of nuclear power in many countries. So here are your questions, which is also posted in Classroom. How is nuclear power generated? Why is the waste from nuclear power plants dangerous for so long? Why should nuclear power be developed? And also, why should nuclear power not be developed? So we talked about that. If you want to take a look and explore more, you're welcome to watch that, where they talk about countries, how many countries use nuclear power, how electricity is produced, what releases the heat, what is used as the fuel, what are the 2 types of reactors, and what is the function of the control rods. So you can look at that on your own for deeper understanding. However, what I want you to focus on are these review questions. Okay, so take a look at that. And that is all we have for today in science. As I said, we've completed this unit now and we're going to move on. So you all take care and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, for reading. All right, goodbye.